Sabbath, everybody. Happy Sabbath. It's nice to see all of you. And I'm glad that today I'm not standing here as a preacher, but as a common mom who wants to tell you a story of her son. I know that many of you have been praying for our little Robin Ray. So it's just probably fit to introduce him to you. The plan A was that he would be here, but unfortunately he's not well enough to be here. So I want you to meet him at least through few pictures that we put together for this introductory meeting. You might know that his rocky journey started already in the tummy when we learned that he will need immediate surgery after he's born to survive. So we had Visitors' Day in Glasgow on one Sabbath in April. Then I had scan on Tuesday, ended up in hospital on Friday, and on Monday, Robin Ray came to this world after an emergency cesarean section. And you can see on the pictures, this is him when I glimpsed him for the first time, but unfortunately he needed to be taken to the intensive care. So I didn't see him another 10 hours. And then the next days were days of expecting his first surgery. He was born with disconnected esophagus, which means that his esophagus, the eating tube, would start, but ended up in a dead end, and the part coming from stomach was connected to his breathing tube. So the surgery meant to disconnect the bottom esophagus from the breathing tube and connect it back with the top part. Normally, this surgery happens few hours after baby's born. But Robin Ray was born so small that I said if he was a chicken from Asda, I would return him. He had only 1 kilogram 65, which is just about 3 pounds. And the doctors were also learning that his anatomy in other places is unique. So they only did the surgery on the 5th day of his life. So the next picture, this is him still waiting for the surgery. And the next picture, this is the morning when Daddy played him a song through YouTube, telling him you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And then after 7 hours, they brought him back to us on a life support machine, looking like this. The doctor said the surgery was a success, and we all anticipated that few days later, everything will be fine, and we will have a repaired baby. That never happened. They were not able to take him off the ventilator. When they attempted, Robin wouldn't start breathing. So from that point, it went downhill. And we were looking at him, next picture, still on the ventilator for almost a month. And at one point, the doctors called us, come quickly, it's so bad. You might need to say your last goodbyes. So we went there, and it's your fight with God at that point. Those of you who were there, you know what I mean. Rory stayed in the hospital during the night, praying that the doctors were figure out what the mystery was. They were saying the mystery with Robin Ray is when his chin is like this, he is alive. If his chin goes lower, few millimeters, he's dying. And even the life support machine couldn't keep him alive for much longer. And I was at home and I was fighting with God, telling him, my mom is gone, my brother is gone, but don't take my baby. And I only hear God talking to me a few times in my life. And on that night, he told me, I'm doing this so that you know I am saving your baby. And Robin Ray turned corner, and the doctors figured out that the vessels coming from his heart were going around his breathing tube, pressing on it. And that's why they couldn't keep him ventilated and he couldn't breathe. So he needed to go for another surgery. And both these surgeries, because he was so small, meant you have to sign the consent, but they tell you he might never make it. But there is no other way he can live. He needed the surgeries. So this is him after the second surgery. And it wasn't a pleasant look. But then it went uphill. And Robin Ray managed to come off the ventilator. And this is him when we saw his eyes opened and just were giving God thanks that we have him. But it wasn't smooth again. From one day to another, Robin Ray started to have episodes when he would stop breathing. 3-4 times a day he needed to be resuscitated. And you ask God, why? I expect a smooth journey with you. But it wasn't smooth. And doctors were saying, if you are home from hospital by Christmas, that'll be something. But it only took 1.5 months, and those scary episodes stopped from one day to another, and Robin Ray never had it again. He is able to breathe by himself. Girls were there all the time with him, coming, hugging him, singing for him. And because doctors were figuring out he is still rarer than they thought, the provision for his future was always very questioned. He couldn't open his palms, he wasn't moving his hands, and because of some anomalies in his structures, the neurologists were saying he might never open those palms, he might never walk. But when you see these pictures, when he stretched, we said he might never, but he is able to do that. So it was like doctors were saying he should do, but he never did. But what they said he wouldn't do, he did it the next day. And they were always telling us, sorry, we can't tell you what the future holds. But I said, thank you. Because he can do probably more than you expect. Next picture, you can see him home from 2nd of May to 12th of September. We were in the hospital, and then we came home, and the first thing you want him to see is the sky and the trees and a bit of nature, and he enjoyed it, he loved it. He is not able to swallow, so you see that he is fed through the tube. So it's another thing that they don't know if he will swallow, but I hope that my God will say he will. Girls, they are playing with him the best they can, and I can't imagine better sisters for Robin Ray than they are. They don't look at how different he is. They want to be like him. When they play with their dolls are tube-fed. When you don't know where they are putting tape on their faces because they want to be like their brother. And that I love to see. Because later on, you look and put your finger or point your finger towards those who are different. In their world, they like to embrace. And I give God for that. I give God thanks for that lesson. He adores them. He allows them to do whatever they want. Skirt, touching my tongue, anything. Best friends. We celebrate every achievement because we understand it could be different. When he lifted the neck, that the doctors say it's too stiff, he might never move it. Look at him. He's turning, he's looking around. And on the next picture, this is his face. Whenever he goes to the appointments and doctors read what is unusual on him, they expect this sickly baby. But when they see this face, they say, we never thought this would be a boy walking in. He's much more than we expected when he was born. Unfortunately, he celebrated his first birthday in hospital, but it never stopped him from celebrating. He enjoyed his balloons, he enjoyed the gifts, and later you see he's simply just making the best out of the time, making the mess in the room, pulling all the instruments, and he even, during his last stay, learned how to stand up. That's the last picture. Oh, he's still doing his pretty faces. And the last picture is the contrast. He then and he now. And I can tell you the difference made is also a difference made through your prayers. I don't think he would be what he is if God didn't save him and if God didn't have the plan for him he has. I don't know what it is. I hope he will be doctor, because he will understand what it means to be special, and he will understand what it means to have challenges, but don't be restricted by the challenges. So thank you for all your prayers. Pray for him that he will eat one day. Pray for him that his spine will remain as straight as possible. And give God thanks for every single child that comes into your congregation, to this world, because they are miracles. Thank you.